But I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but just to intro myself, I'm Grace and I'm working the marketing team here at Autocab. Thank you very much for joining everybody today. Really great to have you with us. We've got a really exciting session. We've got Kieran from Uber. He's going to take us through local cab and the vision behind it. And then we'll be hearing from our CEO Safa, who will kind of take you through the Autocab rationale and kind of our vision for the next few years, before we head into a panel discussion with some of our local cab operators and Kieran, and then ask anything session at the end. So just to make you aware, you can ask sessions during as we're going through in the chat function. So if you do have any questions and you think of them now, please do feel free to submit them and we can kind of read those out at the end. And again, you can also ask questions when we come to the segment by raising your hand, and we can allow you onto the stage to ask the question yourself if you feel comfortable doing so. For those of you who don't know how to use AirMeet, it's really simple. So at the end of the session, we'll have 30 minutes for networking, and you can join the tables in the lounge area. So there will be a local cab operator on each of the tables. So please do feel free to kind of jump on, ask them anything, and just get to know the Autocab team as well. We'll all be in the back end having a bit of a chat afterwards. And that's really it from us. If you've got any questions throughout, obviously, please do feel free to ask them. You should be able to direct message as well. So if you want to ask us anything, please do feel free. But without further ado, I'll hand over to Kieran, who will take you through local cab.
Thanks, Grace. And thanks very much for the introduction and for introducing me. I'm going to try to share screen. Apologies in advance. My first time using AirMeet. Here we go. So if I mess it up, that'll be why. How is that? Can everyone see that?
Yeah, all good.
Perfect. Look, again, thanks very much for the introduction. I thought I'd share with you a little bit of a presentation. Many of the slides I shared at the Autocab summer party. So apologies if you've seen some of these before, but I thought really good just to sort of set the context for today. My name's Kieran. I've been with Uber for almost 7 years now. And Uber as a business has changed hugely in those 7 years, and even more so since we as a company started. And that's back here, which is a tech company that went about matching licensed limousine drivers in San Francisco with riders via a smartphone app all the way back in at the start of the last decade. And if we fast forward from that point, most of us will know that we're now an app that's used in over 65 countries, and we're an app that covers all sorts of different transportation options. So this is an example of our app in Denver, where riders are able to choose between electric bikes, public transport, walking directions, as well as the standard sort of UberX cars, to schedule, to book, and to even pay, all in the one click, all through the one app. And around the world, we are constantly adding new services to the app as we go. So from motorbikes in India, from rickshaws, electric bikes, electric scooters, even helicopters in New York, public transportation around the country. We're constantly adding new transport modes into the app to help riders get from A to B, whether they want to do that as fast as they can, as cost effectively as they can, or as directly as they can. Last summer, we also introduced Uber Boat in London, and that's a really interesting one because it's very similar to the conversations I have with local cab operators. Thames Clippers, am I pronouncing that right with my thick Aussie accent? Thames Clippers are the operator of the boat service in London, and we partnered with them as the local operator of that transport service to bring all of their data into our app. So customers are able to schedule, see when the boats are arriving, they're able to pay, and they're able to travel with the ticket all through the Uber app on that service. Now, not only is the sort of the business of the Uber app changed over the last few years, but as a business, half of our business is now made up by what we call the delivery side of our business. So as big as Uber, the rides business got, it's now the Uber Eats and the Uber delivery business is equally as big. And what started out as a project to see if we could deliver hot food into one of the cities, the delivery business now is starting to look into all sorts of things. Groceries, you might have seen some of our announcements around our relationships with supermarkets in the UK recently, all the way through to delivery of alcohol, pharmaceuticals, convenience and retail products. It's becoming a really core part of our business and a really big part about how we connect our app users to various people with services. So our mission statement is that anyone who uses the Uber app, we want them to be able to go anywhere and get anything. And that's obviously quite an ambitious mission statement. And it's one that we can't do alone. To be able to pull off a mission statement like that, we need to change. We need to become that platform for people who have goods and services to be able to come and connect on our platform with the riders, the passengers, and the eaters, and all of the app users that use the Uber app, to be able to connect on the platform and exchange those goods and services. And that's really what the company has been focused on for the last number of years. How do we become that platform business which enables customers with goods and services to connect to our app audience? It therefore came as no surprise that when we started speaking to Autocab, that there was really great synergies between the two companies. So we were looking to see if we could get more transportation options onto the app. And when we met Autocab, we met a company that had over 30 years experience in working with the taxi and private hire industry. And I'm sure most of you know that Uber's background isn't in the taxi and private hire industry. We're a tech company that started doing our thing. We had a lot to learn from actually how do Autocab understand what operators need to function their business. What sorts of software, what sorts of business modeling does Autocab understand and know to deliver those customers? And we realized there was just huge knowledge and a huge wealth of experience in there to help us hopefully tack into what was this really exciting form of transportation for us. The first project which we did, which I'm really, really excited about, is the local cab product. So I'll press play on that to give you a fast forward example of what the product looks like. What we're most proud of and most excited about with the local cab product is it's by far our deepest integration of a partner's data, a partner's booking. Those of you who have used the Uber app before will see that as you sort of look through these screens of an example of working with Cab, who are our first partner we tested and launched with. You can see that it actually feels a lot like the Uber app whenever you're getting transportation. So the users are able to open up the app, they're able to tell the app where they are, where they want to go to, and then they're able to sort of see exactly all those benefits that the app provides. So driver details, vehicle details, they're able to see the vehicle coming to get them in the flesh and on the app in real life. They're able to have all of the advantages then of contacting either the driver or the operator via the app. So it's a really seamless experience from our riders and very much one that they're used to with other Uber transport services. On the back of that, then we've also integrated things like trip receipts and also help. So if riders then seek help, they will be routed through to the local operators' confirmation channels and their customer service channels. So we're really excited about how we've launched. I think we're now up to around 17 or 18 different locations around the UK. And we absolutely are thrilled with just how smoothly the tech integration has gone and how it is working with operators set up on the IGO network. I also then just wanted to sort of focus on how we've been marketing and promoting the service as we've gone. So there's really 3 steps we've taken as we have launched this to promote the service. The first step has been in the PR or the marketing that comes about launching it. And we've seen time after time really great coverage from specifically local media who are really interested in that story of Uber working with one of their local operators to provide a new service in the town. And as I said, as we sort of launch town by town, city by city, we continue to see some great promotions for not only the service, but also for the local operators that we're working with. The second way we've been promoting the service is through CRM or customer emails. So we obviously are lucky enough to have a really big database of customers who use the Uber app, who we know have looked for a car in a certain area, or have even used the Uber app, the Uber Eats app, to get food deliveries in their area. So upon launch, we've been able to target these app users and go out to them with a message introducing local cab as a service, explaining them how to use it and really promoting it. And that's been driving a huge amount of demand out to all of the local operators as we've launched. And finally, we've also been doing some outdoor and also some digital media. So the example on the left here is, let me see if I can play that again, is the example of what that digital ad runs like. And that you'll see that across the standard sort of web pages and digital ads, but it can also work on outside digital billboards. So an example here would be in Oxford on the bus shelter. Here's an example in Exeter, where it is in a kiosk in a local shopping centre. And then finally, we were able to do an example in Plymouth on a really big outdoor billboard. So you can see the billboard up on the wall. That digital message plays exactly like you see it playing on the right-hand side to promote that service. So again, it's really been about making sure we launch the service, giving the app users the information they know, and really making sure that we're promoting the local operator as we go. So where to next? I am delighted to say that out of some really successful phase 1 testing, phase 1 was where we were able to launch the service where Uber previously didn't have a service. And that was because there's certain aspects to the app that needed to be developed as part of phase 2. And that's what we're currently working on now. So I'm excited to say we're in the midst of our first phase 2 city, which is where we have where Uber X as a product and local cab will work side by side. And so that's really exciting as the next option for us. We're testing it now successfully, and that'll be soon to launch. And that will really open up the opportunity to launch local cab right across the country in towns and cities where we don't have a presence, but also alongside UberX in our big cities where Uber does have a presence and where we have possibly our own operator's license as well.
Advanced booking active.
Very good. That's on time. Now that's where we're up to now. I mean, the next steps for us are to really start streamlining and planning where we launch those phase 2 towns. So we've got some really good interest from operators we've been speaking with over the last, actually it's probably close to a year now, in getting this set up. And we're looking to get more on as we launch. So operators that are there for our launch can help us launch in those phase 2 cities. And that is it. So I'll hand back to yourself, Grace, if I can stop sharing.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Kieran. Really insightful there. And hopefully that's kind of clarified the vision for everybody in terms of local cab. But I'll just hand over to Safa now, who's going to talk you through the Autocab rationale and kind of our vision for the next few years. So over to you, Safa.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Grace, if we can have the presentation slides up, please. Great. Thank you for that. And Kieran, thank you so much for your presentation and joining us today. So, I just want to spend the time to talk about Autocab and our vision for the future and how that fits with the local cab approach. I remember even just a year and a half ago, to provide dispatch technology to a company, everyone was just interested in what features do I get. But over the past year, it really became quite clear that customers are not only interested in features, but they also want to know what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go, and what is your vision, as in their technology provider's vision for the future. So I think it's really important. I think that's really important for customers. And so therefore, I want to just spend a few minutes talking about that. So if you can go to next slide. Really, our vision, Autocab's vision, and by the way, let me talk about our mission to start off with. Our mission hasn't changed just because we've been acquired by Uber. Our mission stays exactly the same. Our mission is to provide the best possible technology for taxi and private hire companies all over the world, and to do everything we can to help our customers grow. That is our mission. And our vision for the future is to put the taxi and private hire industry at the center of mobility long term. And we call this vision 2x4Y, as in we think if we can work together closely with our customers and work together as an industry, we can help double the size of our industry in 4 years. Now, I know you look at that and say, Safa, what are you talking about? I mean, this is crazy. This is too ambitious. And how do we even start to achieve that? And I just want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about that and how that can be done. Next slide. I think really overall, our industry, even honestly, our customers, and I'd even include previously, as of a couple of years ago, large players, even Uber, I would say as well. We've all been fighting the wrong fight. I mean, I know, how much energy, ABC cabs, spends trying to get a driver or a customer from XYZ cabs, just across the street. And we kind of spend all of our efforts trying to kind of get those jobs and drivers between us. While in reality, there's really a much bigger opportunity out there for growth. The diagram there on the right shows the scale of the opportunity. Today, there are about 2 million bookings a day that happen in the taxi and private hire industry. People being picked up, traveling from point A to point B. While at the same time, there are 78 million trips that happen in people's own vehicles. And that's a huge, huge number. And yes, there's been a trend for that to move now to the taxi and private hire industry. But if we can get just 2.5% of that 78 million trips that are happening in people's private vehicles, we will literally double the size of our industry. We will go from 2 million trips to 4 million trips a day, which means double the amount of drivers and double the number of jobs that come into our industry. And you might say, look, Safa, okay, so there is a huge opportunity out there, but that's not possible. How could that happen? And I want to tell you that, honestly, in the past 5 years, this has happened already. If you look at the number of deliveries that happen for food and other deliveries that have happened, that market just grew exponentially over the last 5 years. And today there are roughly as many delivery jobs as happen as taxi jobs. So that size of that industry is similar to the taxi industry. And if we had taken advantage of that, if we were the industry that had said, look, we are very good at moving people and things from point A to point B, then those jobs would have come to us rather than those companies hiring their own delivery drivers. And that is the, and people look at that and say, well, that's different. That's different than us. That's actually deliveries. Well, what do you think has been happening? How did people get their food before? They used to get in their own vehicles, travel to the restaurant and get the food back. That's how it used to happen. And those jobs transitioned from a private trip to a service trip. And we kind of let that happen without being the industry that said, look, we're already on the ground. we're well situated to do this. Any movement of people from point A to point B, or things from point A to point B, we would be able to do that. And all my point is, I'm not saying, I mean, and I take responsibility as Autocab as well. We didn't come out 5 years ago and said, look, here is an opportunity for us to go after either. But all I'm trying to say is this 78 million trips, there is lots and lots of opportunities through innovation and new business models. We can get 2.5% of that 78 million to transition to a service-oriented trip. And that's the real opportunity here. If we can achieve that, then that would be great. Next line. And you look at this and you say, look, Safa, are you inventing something new here? And I'm going to tell you no. In industry after industry, collaboration and working together in a marketplace fashion has resulted in tremendous growth. I just have here two charts, one on the left for the hotel industry and the aviation industry, flights on the right-hand side. And if you go back 30 years and compare to now, we have now probably 10 times more airplanes and 10 times more hotel rooms. And 30 years ago, those of us that are old enough, whenever we got in an airplane or got into a hotel, they were half empty. While at least pre-COVID, they're all full now, and we have 10 times as much capacity and it's being filled. And if you look at the chart, for those of you that like to look at charts, if you look in the 80s and the 90s, it was pretty flat. They did not grow very fast. But around the year 2000, you start seeing huge amount of growth in both of those industries. And you have to ask yourself what happened. What happened during the year 2000 was what's called the .com. It's the ability for merchants to come in online to sell journeys. And what has happened is those two industries started working together, where people who can sell journeys or who can sell hotel rooms can and do, and they would connect and fulfill capacity for people who can provide that service. And that working together, where you have innovators and people who can invest to grow the market by working together seamlessly, is what enabled the growth of those two industries. And frankly, we can do exactly the same thing if we get away from this concept of working each of us in our own bubble, each company in its own bubble, and versus working together more. Next slide. So really where we get to is this concept that, 4 years ago, we started iGo with a simple concept that says, look, if we can have a seamless marketplace where anybody who can sell a journey, let them. It could be a local company marketing to its local customers, and that would be great and fulfilling their own work, and that would continue, of course. But if there are others who can find ways to grow the market and get those jobs, let them. And whoever can fulfill a job, let them as well. But let them work in such a way that basically the passenger experience is maintained and of high quality, and everything is seamless. Then that will result in the same as what happened in the other industries. We will see growth in the ground transportation industry. And we believe when that happens, everyone will benefit. If the market can double in size, everybody benefits. Demand generators will benefit, and supply operators will benefit. And even supply operators that can, of course, generate their own demand, that's great, or generate demand and give it to other parties. Everybody will benefit and the growth will happen. And that's how we can double the size of our industry in 4 years if we can work together. And I think from my perspective, we as an industry have nothing to worry about. I'm very familiar with, obviously, I've been in your businesses and I've met with so many of you, and I'm very much aware how taxi and local taxi companies operate. And I'm also come from Silicon Valley, and I know how technology companies operate. I can tell you that a local taxi company in most cases is more efficient in terms of taking people from point A to point B than global operators or frankly technology companies. And so if we are the most efficient at taking people from point A to point B, we have nothing to worry about on the long term because we are the most efficient at doing that. And this is where all of us will grow together. Demand generators and operators will grow together. Next slide. So I think I've talked about this. Honestly, I think, 5 years ago we should have been the industry that had said, look, anything that needs to move from point A to point B, we will do it. And if we had actually said that at the time, trust me, people like Deliverect and other people, people like Deliveroo and people like that, they would not have spent 300 or 400 million pounds hiring 50,000 drivers up and down the country and have them leave the industry, and we have to fight to get them back. Their investors would not have said that. If we had been the industry that said, look, you give us those jobs, we will do the delivery, and you can, as you grow, we will grow with you. They will simply would have used our service to do that growth. And what we're saying is never again. We will, as an industry, be there to receive work from other parties, and that's how we can grow and make sure we're not displaced through that process. Next slide. So again, our vision is that this is an opportunity for the entire taxi industry. Honestly, not even just our customers, but this is everybody. If we can all work together, we can all benefit. Autocab has the technology and also now the investment to make this vision work. And of course, local cab is a very important element of this. So we are working with all kinds of demand generators to create more demand for our industry. And of course, local cab and what Kieran can bring to the table is an important element of that growth. So that's just a little bit, and I hope this helps you to understand, Autocab's vision and where we're trying to go and what we're trying to create. And hopefully that's been helpful.
Fab, thanks, Safa. Really interesting and really exciting time for Autocab and our customers, actually. So heading back now to Safa again, who's going to chair a panel discussion with some of our local cab operators. So we have Dave from Neither Cab on the line, Lon from Starline, and Noman from Jet Taxis. So thanks so much for joining us today, guys. We really appreciate it. Unfortunately, 001 couldn't join us, but we're really excited for this panel discussion. So Safa, I'll hand back over to you.
Great, thank you, Grace. Thank you very much. So this panel discussion is about local cab, and we know there are operators, of course. I think there's some 20 operators who have gone live already with local cab, but others who have not are contemplating. Is this good for my business? Is this good for me? Will this help me or not? And we thought of putting together this panel to try to share the experience of the operators that have gone live with it, and maybe all of us can learn from their experience, and also ask Kieran some questions as well about Uber's experience with local cab and how that can perform in the future. So let me start off with Dave. Dave, would you mind actually just talking about when you were first approached about local cab? I mean, I'm curious, how did you think about local cab? What did you think when you were first introduced? How did you think it would impact your business? Did you think it's a good idea or not? Or what was your thought process at that point in time?
Well, as you know, Safa, we've always been open to suggestions about how we improve our service. And when Hassan first approached me about the opportunity, it wasn't made. We weren't aware initially it was Uber, because obviously everything was still very quiet at the time. You were still negotiating with Uber to sort your deal out. When it got broke down, I've got to say there was quite a few arguments in the office about whether we get involved or not. But we looked at it as an opportunity to increase not only the job numbers but improve the quality of work for the drivers. Mm-hmm. Then we met Kieran in London with Hassan. Kieran convinced us that it allayed the fears that probably most operators had, that Uber were just getting involved to data harvest. They were going to take all the driver information and then they're going to recruit drivers directly to them. And I was convinced after meeting Kieran and talking to the legal advisor for Uber that wasn't the case. No, they definitely wanted to set up an operation where they were working in conjunction with operators, pretty much as a customer. So as you know, we started working alongside Kieran and the team from iGo and from Uber to help develop the app. As Kieran knows, we were quite pedantic about building in protections to make sure that all the customers, not ours and theirs, because they're all our customers, were treated fairly. So the protections built into the system to make sure that that happened right across the board. And we've been very happy with the outcome. We still work closely with the team. We still get advice from Kieran, from Dave Rose, which is particularly helpful moving forward. The drivers took to it like ducks to water. From being honest, we get very little backlash from any of the drivers that work with us, because they know that we've always got a reputation of trying to improve what we're doing for them, to increase their money, to spend less time in the car. However, with the pandemic, as you all know, we've suffered a real bad shortage of drivers, and what we find is local authorities, they're not just being unhelpful, they're putting barricades in the way of us recruiting more people into the industry, and they make it harder to retain drivers, because they're now talking about various local authorities increasing license fees. Rather than increasing license fees and penalise the drivers that are already in the industry, which will probably force them to leave, give us a helping hand to recruit and retain. So that's what we're up against at the moment. But as far as the Uber experience is concerned, we found it very positive.
And Lon, how about you? You were, I think, probably started discussing this, I would say, sometime in June, probably, because I think you went live in July.
Yeah.
What went through your mind at the time when you were looking at this?
Much the same as Dave, really. I mean, Uber's a big fish. It's it's good to join them as opposed to be against them. Our opinion was you've got to get into it before somebody else does it within Gloucestershire, and be one of the first ones to do it. If we didn't do it, somebody else will.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. One of the reasons we went with it.
And how did it go in terms of kind of like as it went live? What was that like? Talking to your drivers, did the drivers like it? Did they have any objections? I was
very surprised. Very surprised. I mean, Carl and Dave, they did a great job of setting it up. It was almost seamless. I mean, when they said it's going live at, I think it was 2:00 in the afternoon, it went live. Nobody noticed. All of a sudden, Uber jobs were flying into the system, and the drivers, we kept it completely quiet from all the drivers. And all of a sudden they saw Uber jobs, and my phone was going mad then. Then what's this Uber? They're all panicking a little bit. They don't know what to expect. I'm trying to calm them down a little bit, say, look, go with it. Their concern is what are we going to get paid? That because they've heard Uber takes a percentage, blah, blah, blah. So they thought the prices of the jobs were going to go down, but they didn't. So it was all positive. And then after a day or two, the drivers pinging, oh, great job, boss, and they could see that the work was improving, or getting slightly more jobs coming through, and they could only see positives, really.
And then Aman, from your point of view, I hope you're still with us. I think you are.
Yeah, I'm still in, Safa.
Okay, perfect, excellent. So from your point of view, what did you think when you?
Well, initially, Leon said, we thought we might as well get our hands in it first before anyone else does. So that was the initial response. But yeah, the drivers liked it. They were a bit of like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? But we had to get in first, so we got it. It was great idea.
And so you had positive feedback. By the way, what was it Dave was saying? Sorry, go ahead, Naman. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Karen.
No, go ahead, please. This is your platform. Okay, no problem. Yeah. So, by the way, I just want to say that Dave was talking about, jokingly about if Kieran wants to access, or anybody at Uber wants to access data. I just want to say, actually, even if somebody wants, they won't. But even if they won't, they can't, because actually our infrastructure stays completely independent from Uber. I don't report to anybody Uber. I have a boss, and our infrastructure is again completely different from Uber. So Uber employees can't access our infrastructure, and Autocab employees can't access access Uber infrastructure. So just to kind of be clear about that, and then of course there's all the legal protections and GDPR and professional protections and so on. So I think the people who work with this know that to be the case. And so I guess, Dave, coming back to you, you mentioned something. You said, look, once I got beyond kind of the initial fears. I mean, what were these fears that you had in mind when you were first approached to do work for Uber?
Well, to be honest with you, the fear was Uber being Uber, massive tech company, global brand, little old Autocab in the southwest of England. Are they going to use us as a testing ground to see if they could basically recruit drivers in cities where they hadn't normally gone? We listened to, I think I told you, we listened to a talk by Dr. James Cooper a few years ago at one of the expos in Milton Keynes. Mm-hmm. And he was saying you can't take Uber on head on. They're technologically far more advanced than you are. All you can do is improve your training for your drivers, improve the work conditions, improve the service to your customers. So we initially thought, well, is this us then testing the water with us to try and recruit drivers? Like I said to you, I met Kieran. Kieran put my mind at rest about all the fears we had initially, to be fair. We built a really good working relationship where I trust the guy, if I'm being honest. If he said he's something, he's always done what he said he's going to do. Much like yourselves and I, over the years, we built that trust and reputation with you. And we were just, I'll be honest with you, we were honoured to be asked to be the first company to launch. Mm-hmm. Uber being Uber, everyone knows who they are. And they decided to launch this new product, this new innovation with us. So yeah, it was a great thrill for us.
And Kieran, what magic dust did you use that day? But honestly, more seriously, I mean, what's your view on this, and what did you have to say to Dave?
It was great to meet Dave. Dave, I think Hassan and I met you on the first. I think we might have met 3 operators on the first day, and it was just super interesting. There was, from Uber's perspective, we just don't have that background of knowing what life is like for an operator, for a local operator. That's just not our background. So there was things that we thought coming into this that would have been concerns, and those initial conversations were really big eye openers for me to sort of go, oh, okay, that's where you're coming from. I get that. I understand why that's a challenge for you. So it was just taking the time to work through those and just to get clarity and understand exactly what the challenges were, what some of those fears were. And in the end, to be fair, I'm lucky that the projects just aligned. I think, Dave and I chatted about the sort of, was it a way of getting data? We were already lucky enough that we have all that data to know where riders were opening up the app and where would have been popular. So we've always had that data to know that if we wanted to go and launch in a new part of the country, we pretty much.
But Kieran, if you don't mind interrupting you, so Dave was concerned that Uber is just kind of playing around, and then ultimately end up something would happen to hurt his business in the future. So. And there will be people here that are listening today that might have that same concern.
Yeah, no, it's a good chat. I think, and Dave, chip in. I'd be interested to hear what I said to you that kind of that settled you. I mean, key for us had just been to point out that we haven't gone and gotten a new operator's license in the UK since 2017. It's a long time ago since we were in that expansion phase of the business, and we've clearly made a really big commitment with our partnership with Autocab, and made huge investments from our end, which clearly established the line of sight on how we want to operate. And I think speaking to a lot of operators, just that sense of understanding from Uber's bigger picture that this is how we're operating. Like, in terms of the same challenges are probably there for local restaurants who might say, well, what's to stop Uber from getting like data about understanding what people are ordering and what's popular in a local area, and then launching their own kitchens or something in local areas. Very much our model is just about becoming that platform. And I know it's much more sensitive in the private hire and taxi space, because that's what we came and we're doing in the UK first. But if we are able to take that step back and look at what Uber's doing right across the app, right across delivery and all the different transport modes, it hopefully does sort of make sense that we are creating that platform where people who have the goods and services can bring those to the app, and where we can bring passengers.
And Kieran, what's Uber's confidence level in growing the market? I mean, obviously, we don't want a situation where Dave's customers are just booking through Uber at that point, and well, they'll have to be paying a higher price if they go through Uber app anyway. But I mean, we don't want that. I mean, that's not what this is all about. It's about growing the market. So, I mean, does Uber have confidence that they can bring customers from outside the traditional market on this, and so therefore,
absolutely. And look, that's been our history. And there'll be operators here that work. The operators here that work in Birmingham or Manchester or Leeds or a lot of these cities where Uber launched, who realised that those markets did grow. This wasn't Uber entering a market and taking a slice of that pie. And actually, I've never seen that slide that you showed before, Safa, but absolutely, Uber grew that pie. If you just look at London, when Uber entered the market, and look at the growth of the amount of private hire drivers that have grown in London, that's not just us that's growing. That's across all operators. In fact, I was speaking to an operator in Birmingham a few weeks ago who said exactly the same thing. They said, as much as we see Uber as a competitor in Birmingham, the launch of Uber has grown their business by twofold, threefold, just because of what you talked about, making people choose to get in a private hire vehicle over driving themselves. That's the big opportunity.
And Naman, after you went live, what did this mean for your business? I mean, practically speaking, did this help you get more drivers? You know, did it do anything positive for your business? What was the experience like?
Well, to be honest with you, mate, the effect was good. Like, you know, drivers, I think everywhere is struggling for drivers because people are just driving for Just Eat or, you know, Deliveroo or whatnot. So everyone's in the same kind of boat with less drivers. So slowly but surely they are coming back, and hopefully within a few weeks we'll get a few more drivers. But the issue is people are not becoming drivers as much no more, because the money's more into just delivering food, which for them works out more. But hopefully soon the work's picking up a lot more, so we should get more drivers hopefully.
And is Dave? So Dave is with us. So Dave, did it help you grow your fleet at all? Did it help with getting drivers?
Yeah, I think we've seen our numbers certainly grow since the pandemic. We lost quite a lot of drivers during the pandemic, as probably every other company in the country did. But the fact that we partnered with Uber was a big thing. I've got to say, I mentioned the seminar at the Expo in Milton Keynes a few years ago, and Dr. James Cooper gave his talk about Uber and the effects on the market. And at the end of that talk, I'll never forget, there was a guy in Dublin who owned a Hackney fleet. I think he's the biggest Hackney operator in Dublin. And he said that since Uber's launched in Dublin, his market share had actually grown. So that was another positive for us to look at when we came to make our decision. The fact that he actually stood on an audience and said that. And I'm talking about 4 or 5 years ago when this happened.
And Dave, I'm curious actually. So obviously you launched with Uber. You obviously have the data because it's on your system. All of the jobs from your existing work and then the Uber work.
Yeah.
What was the percent? I forget what was the percentage of customers that you got from Uber that used to book with Need a Cab versus new customers that you have?
I think Kieran's probably in a better position to give us that information than we are. I mean, we just look at the local jobs. We don't really. It's not on us and them. You know, we just look at all the jobs as a whole. Well, we don't try and break them down because it's not on us and them anymore. It's a partnership. That's how we look at it. And the fact that our drivers will do the job, whether it's an Uber booking, Uber local cab booking, or whether it's through the Need a Cab app, the drivers just get on and do it. So we just look at job totals as a whole, and we are seeing an increase in job totals, and that includes the work that we do for Uber.
And Grace, how much time do we have for this part of the?
We've got about another 5 minutes.
Another 5 minutes, great. Okay. And Lon, I guess once you've gotten live, what's the effect? Are there any issues or problems that you've run into?
I'd like to say yes, but no, it's been like I say, it's been seamless really. If I'm completely honest, if there is a little issue, sometimes with a charge or something, someone emailed in and said, "Oh, the driver was confused. He charged me cash and I paid by Uber." Just email one of the guys at iGo. They sort the refund out. We take it from the driver. Very simple. There's no big deal about it. Questions and whatever. It's just done. And I personally, I deal with Carl and Dave Rose. And they do a great job.
And Kieran, I guess, how do you envision the relationship with Dave, Lon, Nauman over the next few years? How do you think Uber's relationship will develop with the local firms?
It's been great, and I must say thank you for your words before, Dave. I mean, for those who don't know, we sort of landed in Plymouth, not really knowing how much we had to test and what it was going to take. We had people calling in from all over the world, and so we got to know the inside of Dave's office very, very well over the course of a month. But it was great. What really made sense to me there was just how much I didn't know about the industry and how much that the product could improve and keep improving. So I really hope that will happen, and there's already things on the pipeline. I think, so to Lon's point, there'll be some features we can start making the product even stronger. Things around cancellations and things around all sorts of stuff that we will really need your help as operators in just helping us understand what's the biggest pain points, what can we get better, and helping us sort of understand what are the things we can fix that are going to help us make all of us the biggest impacts and have the most money.
Excellent. Do you guys want to add anything, Dave, Nauman? Nauman, do you want to add anything to this discussion? Just any thoughts that you may have, or let's say, advice. There are other operators here that are looking at your experience and deciding if they want to do this for their business. How should they be thinking about it?
I think I said this at the festival, Safa. What have you got to lose? The contract we signed with Uber was a very informal contract, which gave us both an option to walk away after 30 days if it didn't work for us. So I think Lon said earlier on, it was seamless, and we found that as well. The work just slipped into the other work we had alongside our other iGo customers. So I would say to the guys out there who are maybe sitting on the fence a little bit, give it a go. What have you got to lose? You've got everything to gain, nothing to lose, because your customers will still be there.
Nauman, what advice would you give to other people, and how can you help them think about this either way for their business?
I think Nauman's had to drop off actually. Sorry, Safa. Okay,
same question, Lon.
Sorry, what was that again, Safa?
So the question is, there are people on this that are listening, that are looking for their own business to see if they ought to do this or not. What advice would you give them? How can you help them think about their choice to work with local cab or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity for everybody, really. And after speaking with you guys, you give me assurances that everything's good for everybody. With the data side of things, everybody was worried about data. Uber having a look at Mrs. Jones's booking from Tesco or whatever, targeting people. It's just they're clearly not interested in any of the data. They just want to work with what we've already got. And that's good for everyone, really.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for joining us, guys, today. Grace, I think maybe we can move to the next session. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Safa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. I'll keep you and Safa up on screen, Kieran, as well. But we'll kick off with our Q&A. So yeah, if anyone's got questions, please do feel free to keep entering them into the Q&A panel. But we actually had one prior to the event come through from Brian at Pemberton Private Hire. So I'm just going to pitch that to you guys. With a national shortage of drivers, why would operators want to work with Uber at the moment? Our drivers wouldn't elect to choose surge priced Uber work over regular jobs. So Safa and Kieran, I'll kind of give that to you, and then if Dave and Lon, if you've got any thoughts on that, feel free to pitch in.
I'll start off with that, and you know, this is a long-term strategy, like I was mentioning in my presentation. This is about growth for us as an industry, for us to be at the center of mobility for timeless time to come. And so, you know, there may be driver shortages now, and I think there's very good reasons to make sure that, you know, you want to offer the strongest possible proposition to drivers to attract more drivers to your business. Obviously, the more that you can tell them you've got your work and you've got everything that's going on, but then also you have local cab work and other work, I think that will only strengthen your ability to attract drivers. And obviously, when you attract drivers, then you have less pressure in terms of supply. So I think that's the short-term reason. Long-term is this is an important long-term step. Kieran, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
No, look, I'd echo the sort of long-term vision piece. I think hopefully most of the operators who are operating, who are using local cab, will support this. But the fact that you as the operator control all pricing in the app, which drivers are available, it's really up to you to make sure you're maximizing how you use local cab for your own business. So, you know, you're setting the prices for what it costs passengers to use your service via Uber. You know, it's always up to you when you do and don't take trips, you know, weekends, weekdays, time of days, etc. So really it's about you managing your business and optimizing how you want local cab and Uber trips to fit into your business, which is really, I think, empowers you to make sure it's a success for your business.
Great, thank you for that. We've had one about surge pricing, but obviously you've answered that there. So we'll move on to the next one, which is from Colin at Lyft Private Hire. Does this mean UberX may go on and only use local cab option on Uber passenger app?
So in terms of, yeah, I mean, the plans for UberX are that it's a business to continue to operate, but I know that Jamie has been, you know, Jamie Hayward, sorry, my boss, who did the deal initially with Safa, has been quite clear that the future's going to be the future is. Like, I think before we talked about what the future is with operators, who says it has to stop at operating private hire vehicles. There's loads more transport options. There's loads of different things and partnerships that we think we can get involved in the future, which will make sense, and it'll certainly make sense for our local operators who will know the local areas best to be able to deliver on a lot of those services. So I think, yeah, in many cases, it's going to make a lot more sense for local operators to service some of that demand.
Fab, thank you. We've had a question from Gary at VGT as well. He said he's in an area where Uber don't operate. He doesn't want to start a local cab partnership, build up a customer base, and find in a year's time Uber start to operate in my area, capturing the interest he's already generated. And can you kind of guarantee that you will not start to operate in competition to the local operator in areas where a company signs up to be a local cab partner? Can you do anything contractually to agree it?
So I'll start with the last part there. Unfortunately, no, we can't do anything contractually because the kind of Competition and Markets Authority would have us locked up. I mean, so it's would be illegal to guarantee that we wouldn't compete in an area, and that's just part of law. So, you know, unfortunately, there's no contract that you'll find there. What more practically, I think that operators have found is that, again, it's operators who are controlling the pricing in these areas. So I think, to Dave's point, Liam, who works with Dave at Autocab, who does know all the numbers, only Liam has the vision into understanding which of the customers that came through from Uber and by their phone numbers, which ones had used Autocab previously. I think it's the point you were talking to before, David. And Liam's data on that, if you don't mind me sharing that, Dave, was that I think there was less than 15% of customers had used Need a Cab before. And that comes because obviously Need a Cab can set the price for what it is to use Need a Cab service through their own app, and then they can set the price for what it costs for a passenger to use Need a Cab through the Uber app. So that gives you a lot of control in making sure that these local riders aren't moving between apps or building up a bigger Uber presence in that marketplace. So I think that's the sort of the control that operators have had that have allowed them to sort of get past that fear that, you know, the market all moves to one side.
But also on that, and I don't speak for Uber personally, I speak for Autocab. So I'll tell you kind of like Autocab's perspective on this. Like I said in my presentation, local taxi companies are extremely efficient at moving people from point A to point B. And me, a person that knows both sides, know that, you know, local taxi companies can achieve price points and efficiency that they're very, very strong. And in I'd say in most cases, more cost effective than other parties. So if you're the most efficient at doing something, you have nothing to worry about, because what happens is, you know, why would, I'm going to speak generically here, you know, why would a demand generator go spend more giving a job to their own driver than giving it to you and make more money, versus lose money, for example, going out to another driver? It just doesn't make any sense. Whoever is most efficient to operate in the market will end up with all the jobs, and no one has an incentive to undo that. So it's all about what you believe. Do you believe you'll be the most efficient? I believe local taxi companies are more efficient. If you believe you're more efficient, then you can feel 100% secure. If you don't think you're more efficient, then yeah, you have to understand partnerships and get contracts and stuff like that. But I think from my perspective, we could be more efficient as an industry than global players when taking people from point A to point B.
Thank you both for that. Dan from Acorn has asked about exclusivity, but obviously Kieran's answered that, so we've just marked that one as answered just to make you aware, Dan. And moving on to Ozzy from Royal Cars. Who takes the risk on card chargebacks, Uber or the taxi company?
Uber. So yeah, Uber as the payment agent in that actually looks after all chargebacks, fraud and credit. So hopefully, yeah, that's a real benefit to operators who know what that cost is, you know, at the end of the month on fraud and chargebacks. Every trip that gets done on the Uber platform, the operator gets paid for.
And I think if I can add to that, is that all of the work that you do for local cab, frankly, any work that you do on iGo, is all paid the moment that the journey completes. So the moment that the driver slides, the driver campaign saying job complete, that money moves from the demand generator, in this case Uber, to your wallet, and you can get that. So you never have cash flow issues in terms of funding drivers for account work. So I think that's important. And I think because, of course, local operators can set the pricing and they're free to set the pricing, I think most local operators actually put whatever Uber charges on top of their normal pricing. And so really the driver gets the same amount if they're doing an Uber job or their own work. But that's just the practice of the operators. It's up to them to do that in the way they want to.
Fab. Our next question's from Mohammed at 001 Royal Cabs. So he's asked, if a company in an area pulls out of the Uber contract, will Uber start recruiting its own drivers if they cannot find another supplier within that area?
I think I'd push that question over to Safa and Hassan and say, let's get more people using Autocab and using local cab in those areas. Yeah, we certainly think there shouldn't be any shortage of operators that can come on and see benefit in making those trips in those local areas. So we hope to get more and more local operators using the service.
Great answer. So we've got another one from Amar at Tees Valley Cabs. What about adding a link to when people use a local cab if they're interested in becoming a driver? So basically onboarding through Uber, as they have a massive amount, as they have a huge client base.
I must admit, I've never considered that before, but it's actually quite a cool idea, and certainly in this current climate as well. Yeah, there might be. Leave that with me. There's smarter marketing people in the team that I will throw that challenge to. But it's certainly an interesting, really interesting concept.
Fab, thanks, Kieran. So Jamal from Girlington Allover has asked, will Uber start local cab in cities they already operate in, for example, Birmingham and Manchester?
Yeah, so excitingly, that's the kind of the phase 2 rollout, which technically has lots of elements about making sure that the passenger app works flipping between two sorts of products like the local cab integration. We are testing that as we speak. So Adam, my colleague, who I think is on the call, has been leading the charge on that. Has been doing some great work. So hopefully we'll have some pretty big news on that in the next few weeks.
And that's, by the way, from Autocab's perspective, is music to our ears, because we envision, and this was the basic concept of IGO, we envision interdependence. We think that this is the kind of thing, it needs to be good for demand generators and it needs to be good for operators. Both have to benefit from the relationship, and both have to feel secure in the relationship for this to really succeed. And I think, you know, one of the best ways to feel secure is to have interdependence. If Uber is, you know, using operators in cities where they operate and in cities where they don't operate, and frankly depend on those operators to deliver great service to the customers who are using their app, I see that as a good thing, you know, that interdependence. And then if we have operators who value the work that they're receiving from local cab and feel it's great for their business and they're growing their driver base because of it, that to me is absolute success. That's the definition of success, to have that interdependence that happens in our industry, and that's how we can all work together and grow. And frankly, I honestly think this is all around the corner. We could be looking at you know, sometime, you know, Q1, Q2 next year, and I think that will be achieved, and that will become the reality in the UK. And it's something that we are working Autocab globally with Uber and other demand generators to reproduce globally. We're already taking major steps in the US and Colombia and other places to reproduce this success.
Thanks, Safa. Next question we've got from Daniel at Gym Cab Services. When is Autocab likely to launch this partnership with Uber in Africa, specifically in Kenya?
Excellent. Really good to see you guys from Kenya. Our customer there will be delighted, and honestly, we'll get there. I don't have the timeline, but we'll get there for sure.
Exciting to see that interest, and really exciting indeed. So next question is from Cameron, and he says, would Uber still actively look to grow their Uber fleet in areas where local companies join local cab? I'm not quite sure what that means.
I think it's back to the point around just the UberX business as it stands. So I think the safest thing to say there is that business will continue as it has. I think we're probably all in the same boat, every single one of us, that at the moment it's all about can we get drivers to meet the demand that we're all feeling. So yeah, I think it's, unless I've got that question wrong, I think that's probably the way to think about that, is that the businesses will continue to operate.
Thanks, Kieran. The next one is from Riz at Eurocars. Can we have figures of how many times the Uber app has been opened in certain cities and towns and not been able to service that customers have? And not been able to service that customer and have been serviced. Obviously, for us, it's Bradford. So I think they basically want figures for how many times the Uber app's been opened in certain areas.
Yeah, I know that the marketing team have that kind of data. Yeah, that can be made available.
Fab. Next question is from Rocky, and he said, have any software issues been ironed out? So he has pools of drivers dotted all around within the M25 area. Are we able to receive work, or is it only set to one town?
I'm not sure I understand that question. Sorry, Grace.
I think what he's implying is that he's got drivers not specifically located in one town, but if he was interested in joining the local cab partnership, can he? Rocky, if we've got the wrong end of the stick with that question, please feel free to kind of re-ask it. But that's what I'm understanding from that. So can he have more than one area in the local cab offering?
Yeah. So like ideally, the local cab, and certainly with launching phase 2, means we get to open up the entire country to where local cab can exist. So we'd be certainly willing to look at areas. And again, at the moment, we're just in that matter of pipeline where we know that we have fleets ready to go and where it's ready to go, but there shouldn't be any kind of constraints on where we can launch local cab.
Thanks very much. The next one's from Daniel at Warrington Travel. There's a few questions here. Does local cab work with a meter if a customer changes their journey midway through? If so, will this change the fare and will it update straight away on iGo? Currently, waiting time and changes to journeys on, let's say, CMAX journeys aren't updated.
Do you want to jump in there, Safa? It's one I've been...
Yeah,
it's a really good question. That's one of those sort of product features we've been speaking to operators we've launched with on. So there's 2 ways we're tackling that. One will get solved with the phase 2 launch, because we are able to integrate multi-destination trips, which would be really exciting. So passengers will be able to say A to B to C to D, and then we can accurately price trips and not have to worry about an overrun. The second part about it is, I think, drivers specifically using meters. And again, that's not something we've can solve at the moment. All the fares are set in iGo, and I guess to your point, the same sort of challenge you might be having with another demand aggregator like CMAC. All the prices set of an upfront piece. So we are looking into the ability to sort of read off a meter, but just to be crystal clear, that is on the pipeline of things to do, not something we've solved yet.
Yeah, and I'll generically say that this product will evolve. I mean, there are teams within Uber that are with the stated goal of making sure that every Uber journey, if it happens in local cab or if it happens with an Uber driver, has equivalent passenger experience and capability. And so that takes some further development on the Uber side, and also takes development on our side. But this is it's a great product, we think, out there. It's working great out there, but definitely there's future investment, significant future investment that we're making at Autocab, and I think at Uber as well, to continue to perfect the passenger experience, the driver experience, and the operator, our customers' experience, and making sure that it's all seamless and works for everybody in the smoothest possible way.
Fab. We've got a couple more. So Akil from Streetcars has said, do you have a date for a phase 2 launch? They're obviously based in Manchester, so good to hear that they might be interested.
That's going to be my colleague Adam. Hopefully he's listening intently on the line. He is the man that's responsible at the moment for pulling those timelines together. From what I've seen, look, we're super excited about the initial testing we've run this week. So I have been burnt too many times before guaranteeing timelines without the tech team signing off. But we look to be able to launch really soon. I think, to be honest, one of the challenges will be just working out when makes sense to work with you as operators to do that. I know that, having spoken to so many of you, that leading into Christmas is just manic for everyone involved. So I think we'll try to get some certainly some phase 2 launches done this year, and then depending on how manic is everyone before Christmas from an operator's perspective, it might mean we take a breath over Christmas and then launch really hard come the start of 2022, which scarily is not that far away, to be honest.
We just had another one in from Suki at Heritage. Can we surge or not? Is it just Uber and not other third parties?
So again, pricing is all up to the operator, and you have the ability to change price at any given moment on any given day. So Uber doesn't set the price of the fares. You, as the operator, will always set the fares.
And of course, the Autocab system, the Ghost system, already does that, has that capability, and we might be unique in the market in having that. So you can deploy that at any time.
Yeah, Hassan's just made a good point in the chat that they should use our surge pricing feature to do this using the wall module. So yeah, definitely get in touch about that if you're interested in setting that up. Safa, just one for you actually. In terms, if anyone's actually interested in signing up to Local Cab, what software, Autocab software, do they need?
Just the standard Ghost driver companion, software. I mean, it's our standard SaaS product, and then all that's needed is they just say, I'm interested to work with Local Cab, and there is, they just need to be part of the IGO and get the IGO contract signed and move forward. So you don't need anything, no special module or anything like that.
I think Cal as well has just mentioned in the chat that Phantom is required as well. So make sure you have Phantom too.
Good point, actually, yes, because obviously that's very good. Thank you, Cal. And the reason that that's required is for call driver, call passenger. And this is all very cleverly done using Phantom in a way that driver information and phone numbers, although an Uber rider on the Uber app can say call driver from the Uber app, that would actually connect them directly to your driver, but that will go through the Phantom phone system. And so you have a call recording of that as well. And the reverse also works, it's true as well. A driver can say call passenger and go through to the Uber rider. So it does that completely, but also preserves the data integrity between the two, as in your driver phone numbers don't go to Uber when that happens, but of course you get the rider's phone number.
Thanks, Safa. We just had a few more questions actually in. What's Uber's goal in 5 years? Do they want to have a larger Uber driver list, or to reduce Uber drivers and move to local drivers instead?
I think in 5 years it's really about, and our focus is on how do we start becoming the best app globally in bringing together all of those services. So in terms of, producing a really amazing rider experience, which can give them journeys that connect them, whether it is just in a car, whether it's via public transport in a car, whether it's via, part scooter, part car, part public transport. That's really where our focus is. And it's probably less of a focus on who does those journeys, as opposed to making sure that rider experience is the best in the world, and that when people want to get from A to B, that they're reaching for the Uber app. But obviously there's lots of other global players out there as well that they're really looking for the Uber app to help them get there, whether it be most inexpensively or in the shortest amount of time, or just in the most direct.
Thanks, Kieran. And another question from Nim at Abbeywood Station Minicabs. He says, when are new companies being added to Uber Local? Have those been agreed? So I guess that's one for both of you.
Yeah, we've done, I think, sorry, I don't have the number off the top of my head because I know we launched last week and possibly this week. We're around 17 or 18 different locations now. So really, yeah, in terms of timeframes, please, if anyone's interested, let us know. We are building out timelines for which areas we can launch and when, and as soon as we confirm that phase 2 testing and that's all ready to go, it really opens up the country from where we can go. So please do get in contact, because we are very excitedly setting up our pipelines for the end of this year and for next.
And final one, I'm not 100% sure if it's entirely relevant, but I'll ask it anyway. If operators join Uber Local, will they be liable to pay pension, holiday pay, paternity pay, etc. to drivers? If this is the case, how will we make a profit? I'm not sure if they pay that currently.
No, it's a good question. So it specifically relates to Uber as a business and our worker model. The short answer is no. So you will run your business as you would. You're the operator of that business, and the relationship between you and your drivers is between you and your drivers. So there's absolutely no obligation on what's happening with Uber and Uber as a private hire operator that will carry on to you. So very much a big and clear no. It's your relationship with drivers and their employment status is up to you.
Fab, thank you guys. I think that kind of wraps up the session. So thank you so much to all our panelists today, and Safa and Kieran for joining us. We are going to end the session, but there is a networking lounge in afterwards. So if you are able to join, that would be fantastic. Dave and Lon will be there, and the iGo team as well. If you are interested in finding out more about Local Cab, you can find out now, or you can email localcab@autocab.com, and one of the team will get back to you with how you can kind of get set up and get the ball rolling with that. And we'll also be sending out comms with this video afterwards. So if anyone's missed it or you want to circulate it, please do feel free. But yeah, that concludes today's session. So thank you so much to everybody for joining. I hope you found it useful, and yeah, see you next time.